Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Infinite Abilities Podcast. I am your host, Nick Earhart, and we are here to encourage each other to find our own unique abilities. Let's go. All right, everyone. So today we have Renee Cooper, and I know that I'm going to learn a lot from Renee. I actually already have. Renee is an amazing person, and I can't wait for you to learn more about her. So, Renee, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm so excited to be here with you and your listeners today, Nick. I actually am on a life mission that started when I was in high school. Oprah Winfrey was my hero, and she taught me a lot of the things that I didn't get from uh, growing up. And essentially, I was always the kid that was told, you talk too much and you have too much to say. And that took me throughout my education all the way through my career world. I was always told, I think too much. I'm just too much. And so I kind of turned that into fuel as I kept stepping into jobs that were not in alignment for me. And I became very self-expressed. And I saw how others struggled with that, but yet that was something that I loved so very much. So my career was in the nonprofit space, and I raised millions of dollars for different types of causes for over 15 years. And then I pivoted right before the pandemic because I saw that so many people were coming to me over the years looking for help, looking for guidance on how they could express themselves better. And that was happening a lot throughout my career too. I would be put into training situations. Hey, Renee, can you train this group? Can you help that group? And it took me so long to realize what I was meant to do. And like I said, before the pandemic, I hope you can hear me. There's a little bit of static, but before the pandemic, that's
Yeah,
when I
we're
really
good.
decided I needed to pivot and switch gears, leave my career and start my own business so that I can truly be of service to those who need me.
Mhm. And what is it that you're focused on now?
Oh, yeah. So I am actually a life-changing speech coach, and I'm a speaker.
Awesome.
And I started out helping people who were really anxious and fearful of being in front of people. And over the years, it kind of evolved into helping people not just overcome their fear, but step into new boxes, like step into new boxes for who society and the world and family told them they are, and just learn how to be something else. Because why limit, right, our abilities to what we're told we should be or shouldn't be? And it's just been
Yeah.
really awesome. I work with people, I work with executives, I work with leaders in all industries to help them get out of their own way, so to speak, to elevate their message, elevate their presence, increase their influence, and just not live in that box of sounding scripted and rehearsed when they're in front of other people.
Yep. Well, I love what you do because I started my speaking career about a year ago with the podcast. And then this year I've been focusing on actual physical stages. And I've already done two this year. I have another one next month and then a couple more at the end of the year. And I will say it's scary, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. And it just kind of becomes just another little tool that you have, another thing that you do. So for anybody out there, like, if you're scared to just speak, you just gotta do it. Like, that's the easiest way to get through it, don't you think?
I do. And what I find fascinating, like I have a client that I just finished with. He does speed skating where, you're skating for 24 hours throughout the night. Like these are high level
Of course.
skaters. And for him, speaking is terrifying. So I kind of relate it back to, hey, like, did you become a great skater by just skating during these 24-hour marathons? No, like you started out skating a mile and skating 2 miles, it's no different. People think that either they're a good speaker or they're not. Like, it's so not the case. The only way we get better at anything is by doing it. Just have to do it, right? And that's what kind of like just gets me so excited. There's so many people, even like what we call careerists, who are missing out on opportunities because they're so afraid to speak. They're so afraid to be visible in their career. And people who speak more earn an average of 20% more. So there's so many
Yeah.
people that are leaving money on the table, even in their careers, because they're so afraid. And what they're afraid of, Nick, is not the speaking. They're afraid of judgment and being and self judgment. And that's what I do in my mentorship and coaching. I tackle that because it took me so long to, have the confidence that I have now because of years of holding back on what I wanted to do.
Yeah, and I love that you talk about that because we're all afraid of what other people are thinking of us. I lived my whole entire life like that, and it held me back from so many things because I was just so afraid of what somebody else might think of that. And once I broke free, it was just like, all right, I'm done caring. Like, I know who I am. So I'm going to live my life to the fullest, regardless of what other people think. And I'm so glad that I made that decision because now, like, I'm living a life that's 10 times better than it was, 3, 4 years ago. It's just
Wow.
that one thing made the biggest difference. And then with that came a lot of self confidence because then I wasn't afraid anymore. So I just became more confident in myself. You know, that's something that, you continue to build as you go. I don't think anybody's ever like, 100% confident, but you can definitely keep building that. Yeah, I love how you help people, and I love that. I resonate with your stories a lot because it's something that I'm currently going through. I'm just getting started in my speaking career, and it's fun and scary, and yeah, I like it though. I really do. And I do have a question for you. So, like, a lot of people have like a speech that they give and it's like they memorize the whole speech. I really struggle with memorizing a speech. So usually I just wing it, and it turns out good. But do you have any like recommendations for us about memorizing?
Oh my god, absolutely. And first off, I have to touch on something you said just before. It thrills me, honestly, when I talk to people, and I don't mean to age myself, but that have caught on to that letting go of what other people think. Because so many times I find it happens when we turn 50. There's so many 50 somethings that I meet that finally say, I don't care anymore about what people think. Why should
Yeah.
you have to turn 50 before that happens? And so I absolutely love that you caught that bug when you did, because I know for me, I was told when I was 28 years old I had a gift, and people were coming to me for help. And this is before the internet and this is before texting. I had no clue how to help people. I had no clue about how to start a business. I didn't have any mentors. So I just squashed my dream and I just kept burying it and burying it and burying it. And yeah, now it's a part of my journey and it's a part of my story, a part of my path. But I often think, wow, like if I could help one person shift now to start what's on their heart now, if they have a message or they're on a mission or if they have a passion about something, to use the most magical thing you were given, your voice. Do it now, because as we get older we realize there's no guarantees we're waking up every morning. There's no guarantees anymore, and I think that's why I get so lit up. about this. So, to answer your question, yes, part of my coaching program, I actually have a talk on this. And the title of my talk is Writing a Speech. It's all backwards. We have learned to write speeches ever since we were little in the most backwards way I can tell you. So, let me give you an example of this. If you know any authors, or are there any authors out there who've written books, when they sit down to write a book, they're not opening it up to page one and saying, okay, what am I writing on page one? No, they're thinking, what do I want my readers to take away when they're done
Mm,
reading my book? It's no different when you're writing a speech. One of the best tips, and again, I go into this in my course that I teach and when I speak to audiences one on one about writing it backwards, I want you to think about the end. What is the end result? What is the takeaway that you want that audience to get when you stop talking? That's how we start crafting a speech, by doing it backwards. Because
mhm,
once we have the end in mind, we now, as the speaker, can take our listeners down the journey of what we want to say so that we don't have to memorize anything. And the
mhm,
beauty in that is that it no longer becomes, okay, what's my opening? What's my body? And what's my conclusion? No,
mhm.
that's why so many people, even high level people, struggle because they feel they have to have it all written out. So I hope that answers your question.
It
I,
does.
you know, I, it takes a while to like teach people how to craft that working backwards. But if I can just give some quick tips, it's that. What's your end result? What do you want them to take away? And then from that, then you go, okay, what are the main points that I need my listeners to walk away with? And here's the thing, Nick, our brains cannot handle more than three things at a time. And I always recommend to my clients, even if you leave them with 2 points, you've done great, because less is more. And that's how you start going into your main points with your supplemental stories or evidence or social proof of your points. And then, in my course, I really teach, how are you engaging in the beginning? How are you engaging at the end? And then specific tips on what you can lean on as a tool when you don't want to have anything to do with memorization. I hope that answers the question for now.
Yeah, I like that, and it's kinda cool because it's kinda what I've been doing so far. I know what messages I wanna leave with the audience, so I think of basically 2 stories or 1 story that I can start with and finish with. And then in the middle of my speech, I have, like, 3, bullet points of things that I wanna cover. So then I'm not like memorizing anything. I know my stories and I know the points that I want to make during my speech, and then I close it with a story. So I guess I'm kind of doing it already. So that's cool.
Yeah, 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 you're kind of doing it already, and that's the thing, and that's the power of stories. You get to choose, like, do I want to open with a really engaging question to get my audience to
Mhm.
think about something differently? Or stories are great too, because they put your audience in the visual of the moment. But either whether you begin it with a story or end with a story, statistics, engaging questions, call to actions, inviting your audience to do something. What's the next step you
Yeah.
want them to do now that they heard you speak? Those are all subtle nuances you can play around with when we're storytelling, because that's what this is really all about.
Yep. And I always like to start with something to get the audience engaged. I'll have the audience do something, say something, maybe get up. That's like the things that I like to do. It's like, all right, let's make sure that we're all engaged first and then we'll get into it. So, but yeah, so
Right,
that's awesome.
right.
That's
And
actually really helpful.
glad.
Yeah. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh, nothing. I wasn't sure if you were asking me a question. No, I was saying I'm really glad. I'm glad that it was helpful. Um,
Yeah, thank you.
one of the things that I teach when people decide to partner with me, you know, on my 1 month express journey or in my transformative 3 month journey is you're not we're not focusing on writing, you know, and that's the issue. Like we've been conditioned since we were young kids to write a speech, to write a presentation, to write a talk. You know, the best authors might have to edit their books 20, 30, 40 times before it goes to publish. So why are we so hard on ourselves when it comes to needing to write a speech, right? We got to get our work, we got to get our thoughts out there. And I use certain apps with my clients so they can get their thoughts out there first
Okay.
to hear how they sound, not so much the words, but are you enjoying what you're saying? Do you sound real in what you're saying or do you sound rehearsed? And we take it from there.
I like that a lot, and I think it's good to practice and, like you said, record yourself. Just record how you present yourself, how you say everything, and because that's the only way that you can really learn and correct the
Right.
mistakes
That's
you're
right.
making.
And and for years, you know, being in the fundraising business, like we had people video us. I couldn't watch myself for years. I had no interest. I don't want to see
Same.
myself. No, 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 no. But when I started leaning into some of my mentors, when I started building my craft, one of the key things I learned is we're so quick to look at ourselves, but I actually encourage the opposite. I encourage you to just listen to yourself. So if there's a way, and there are apps like called voice memos where you're just listening, because when we look at ourselves, we're too critical of, oh, I have gray hair, I didn't dye my hair, or I don't like that shirt, or my pants are wrinkled. Like we become so hyper focused on our appearance that we're not able to focus on how we sound. And on the flip side, when I'm doing consulting work with high level clients, we actually encourage, when I'm working with a video producer, for the client to actually watch themselves and not hear themselves. Because then we do the next set of dynamics. Just look at how they're portraying themselves without the voice. So there's a lot of ways you can work on building your skill set. And it's not just
Hmm.
about watching yourself speak. First, listen to yourself. And then once you like how you sound, then just watch yourself. Look at the way you're using your body to tell a story. What mannerisms are you doing over and over that are very distracting that now you can pick up because you're not hearing any words? You're just watching
Hmm.
mannerisms. So those are two extra tips that I'm offering, you know, your audience to help.
I think it's really cool because you're only the second person that I've heard talk about that, where you record yourself speak and then you watch each individual thing separately. First you listen, and then you watch without sound, and then you can watch it all together. I can't remember who else it was. It was some, speaking coach or something like that that I heard from. But I was like, that's a really good idea. And now you just confirmed that with me. So thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. It makes a huge, huge difference because nobody, and this is the thing that I tell people all the time. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Wherever you are, it's not your fault. Because unless you've been trained with a professional voice coach, or you've been trained to be a method actor, or you've been trained in theatrical performance, you've never been exposed. One
Yep.
public speaking class in college is not going to do it. Giving a book report throughout your educational career once a quarter is not going to do it.
And I gotta say, for all the listeners out there that you just don't know where to start yet, you don't know how to get started. All I gotta say is put it out into the world that you want to be a speaker, and things will line up automatically. And I'll give you an example. Me, this year, I decided that I wanted to be on one physical stage every month. This whole year, I've been introduced to people that can help me do that. And look at, I have Renee in front of me right now on my podcast, helping me with my speaking career. And I didn't go out and find Renee. You know, we just kind of got connected, and that's the power of just putting it out there and letting other people know what you want to do and what you want to accomplish, because things
Yeah,
happen like magic, and it is just
too.
remarkable. So yeah,
Yeah, if I could add to that, Nick, see, here's the thing. Our egos are what there's a great t-shirt, and I can't think of the expression right now. Our egos are what really destroys and crush our dreams. If your listeners or anyone out there who's listening, if you have an important message, and again, this took me a long time to get to this point, but if you can get to see that your message is not about you, your message is there to impact other people. The value of your message outweighs and is more important than you as the messenger. It kind of reduces fear a little bit more
it does.
because it allows you to see that it isn't about us. Yes, people are seeing your face and they're listening to your voice, but they're listening for themselves. They're listening for how this affects their life, and if that's something that can support people in getting out there, raising your hand in a meeting, standing up at your company and sharing an idea, that's where it's at. If you're thinking about the good of the group or an idea that's there to be of service to others, you take yourself out of the equation and it's not about you anymore. And that helps so much with the people that I support.
That's what keeps me going every day. Is it's not about me. It's about the people that I help. You know, I've been making social media videos for over 3 years now, and
Wow.
a lot of the videos, like I'll make it and I'll edit it and I'll go, that's not very good. But I post it anyways, and it's usually those videos that I think, aren't very good are the ones where I get the comments of, "This helped me so much. Thank you for sharing this." And that right there, that's like that's like fuel. That just I love
It is
that.
fuel.
I love knowing
And
that I can help people.
I love that, Nick, because see, this is the thing, like everyone is striving to be this. Look, with all the filters that are out there, they're striving for this perfectionism that is not real. It doesn't exist. If we strive for being perfectly imperfect, if we can strive to be imperfect, we're not getting in our own way anymore. It reminds me of a client that I had for over a year. She's this incredible international life coach who makes such a difference in the lives of so many people. But you know why she wouldn't post, Nick? Because she'd say to me, well, my makeup isn't perfect and my hair hasn't been done and I don't have the right suit on. And it took me a good 6 months with her for her to get to see that she's limited her voice because of these things that she's put in her own way. And it's been so nice to see her out there more because her message is important. And that's
I
huge,
love,
in my opinion.
yeah, I love that, and I always strive for that. What did you call it? Imperfect
Perfectly
perfection or
to
something.
be perfect, to be perfectly imperfect.
There you go. Perfectly imperfect, because it's you'll wear yourself out if you try to be perfect with everything. And it's like the important thing is just getting things done. That's how you're gonna help people. Just get things done. And if anybody's out there listening and you want a good mentor that can help you through what we're talking about right now, look up Mel Robbins. Mel is all about not being perfect, and she flaunts it and loves it, and I relate to her so much, and she's helped me through a lot. So look her up.
She
She's incredible.
Yeah, she was actually my mentor too to help me start my business right before the
Awesome.
pandemic. Yes.
Really
Yes, yes, and I whipped my butt
amazing.
into gear within 24 hours and got
Yep.
like a crappy website done or a speaker page or whatever.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would agree.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Well, before we wrap this up, I have to ask you. So my slogan is "Your abilities are infinite." What does that mean to you?
Oof. You know what that means to me, Nick? That means that we get to make a choice, a conscious choice in each moment. Truly. Like you could be having the worst day, but you could get to choose differently and say, you know what? I choose to step into my power in this moment and know in my heart that I want to make a difference today. Whether it's, like I said, at your company, in your business, as an entrepreneur, or if you are a speaker, or if you're an upcoming speaker, it doesn't matter. You get to step into that power. Just like you've stepped out of your power, you get to choose to step back into it and reclaim it. And that's a conscious decision that we have to make over and over and over.
I agree
So
with you. I love it. Thank you. And thank you again for being on the show. This was so awesome.
well, you're welcome. Can I let your listeners know how to find me if they'd like to connect?
Of course. Of course.
Oh, great. So if anyone wants to have a conversation or learn more, you can find me on Instagram, Renee Hope Cooper, same as LinkedIn. And on TikTok, Step Into Your Voice. And I just invite anyone to just chat with me, even if you have a question or you need some help. I'm here to, provide that for you, whether it's to hold your hand as your mentor or just to leave you with a free strategy to support you in your goals.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Renee.
You're welcome, Nick. It was really fun chatting with you today. Thanks for having me.
It, it was. If you enjoyed this show, please go ahead and share it on your Instagram story and tag me in it. The Nick Heart. Also, go ahead and share it anywhere else that you see fit, because the only way that I can grow this is by you guys sharing it. I don't sell anything on here. I don't have any sponsors, so let's just get it out there by word of mouth and help more people. Alright, everyone, remember your abilities are infinite.